Today, we're shooting with my all-time favorite camera. This camera is with me wherever it is I go, and it's called the LUMIX DMC-ZS100 Mini Leica. Now, you may be wondering, why do I say Mini Leica? Like, what exactly does that mean? Well, Leica made their same version of this camera, but with the Leica branding and a few more colors like champagne. This is the LUMIX edition of that camera, but it still says Leica on it. It still has Leica internals, Leica lens. It's all the same thing except on the LUMIX body, which means instead of paying almost close to $2,000 for this thing, I paid $300 for it, and I found it used at a Best Buy. Typically they're going about $400, $500. 20 megapixel sensor. You can shoot RAW with it. It has all full manual controls. It's just a great camera overall. So I'm super excited to share it with you. It's been overcast lately for the last few days, and I'm actually really enjoying it because it's been hot, super hot. Like, I've been meaning to make a video, and it's just hot, almost 100 degrees, and it's crazy to walk out there. There's nothing going on downtown. Even though there are events going on, nobody's out and about right now because you'd burn to death. But right now it's nice and overcast, so it's going to be nice to be able to go out and try to make some photos. If there are no people out, I'm still dedicated to making this video, so we'll do architecture. One way or another, I'm going to make these clouds work, and this video is going to happen. I completely forgot. It was Spanish market this week. And what does that mean? That means that Santa Fe is invaded by tourists and other people who just want to come and see cool Native American and Hispanic and just art in general. It's going to be hectic and it's going to be difficult to make a video, but now I'm more than determined than ever.
The thing that really attracted me about this scene is this guy was just out here painting by the river. It was really cool, and I love the colors, so I wanted to get a good action shot of him doing so. I just couldn't get it at this angle. I tried a horizontal shot, see if it was any more interesting, but it wasn't close enough. So as I walked closer to him, I tried to get one from behind and see how that lined up, but it was just too flat. So as I turned to the other side, I saw the layers with his photos, with his paintings, and him painting. That I knew was a shot. All I had to wait was for the right motion. Then he sat up and looked at his painting, and it all just came together for me. This definitely wouldn't be one of my videos without me photographing an old car. I just love this shot with the way the car is sitting in between the tree there, just being framed by it, and just the mood that the day gave it by being a cloudy day. Walking further forward, I saw the car in a different angle with this tree in front of it, so I framed the hood of the car with the tree, kinda got the tree out of focus, and I came up with this photo. I love the mood of this photo, so I just kinda kept it underexposed the way I typically do. This shot was one of those warm-up shots that I typically like to take, and it just gets my creative process going. And the thing that really caught my eye about this is the fact that they're wearing a blue shirt against that yellow building, so it really popped for me. This is one of those shots that looks better inside your head. When I pulled up the camera, the grandma started to walk further and further apart, so it kind of broke the composition that I was going for, but I mean, it still came out in a way, I guess. I am not an architectural photographer by any means, but the way that the window was framed here by this stack of bricks, I guess, and the foliage around it just really popped out to me, especially the color contrast. Now, I've been learning to get a lot braver when it comes to photographing people and dogs, so when I saw these cute little puppers come in front of me, I just knelt down and took the photo. The owner didn't seem to mind. The lady in the background, maybe a little bit, but I got the shot, so that's what matters the most, I guess. They're really cute. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this is one of those shots that's called a distraction shot. Even though it came out and I really like the reflection in the window that you're gonna see here in a little bit, it wasn't my intention to ever take this shot. What I really was going for is this next one that's coming up. There's this grandma on her phone and she is just chilling, but I didn't want to be a weirdo and just take her photo that way. So, I made myself part of the scene first. But I love the way that she's just relaxing there, just flipping through her phone, just enjoying the way that the peaceful afternoon on the plaza is. And it just really made me laugh. There was nothing in particular about this shot that made it special. I'm just a former volunteer firefighter, so when I saw this fire truck, I took the shot. I pretty much photograph all fire trucks I walk past. It's who I am now, I guess. I wanted to photograph the band in a unique way. And so when I saw this man with his Smith jersey and a floral, almost Christmas-like hat, I knew I had to take the photo. The best thing that made it for this photo is that the singer actually looked back and looked into the camera. I thought that really tied it together. As I walked around, I saw the amount of people that were in that crowd, and feeling a little overwhelmed from it, I started to walk away from downtown. And then I walked across this lady who was walking her bike across the street. And her expression and the bike against the buildings really tied it together for me. So when I shot the photo and I saw it afterwards, I was really excited that I got such a unique composition. I walked around downtown trying to find more compositions and just checking out the show as I went. And I saw this little corner here with these two guys, and one's a little higher than the other, and then the other guy is a little higher than the lady inside the booth. So it almost made like little steps of people. The thing that tied it together was the guy looking right into the camera. I think he might have been making gestures at me before, but I didn't notice at the time. I wanted to photograph the bikes in the background, and what I did was I framed the bikes with this red hood here and the sign that said it's a loading zone. And I think that it came out really busy, but also the colors really popped, and it really just emphasized the bikes a whole lot more.
One of them is 16. Oh.
I saw this decorative bull out in the front of this building, and I thought that it would make a good composition. When this bike came by, it really tied the photo together for me. But now that looking back at it, I'm wondering if the bike became the focal point, or was it still the bull? Old car in my way? I have to photograph it. Need I say more? These are one of the streets that I typically never walk down, but when I saw this stop sign framed by this foliage, I really had to take the photo. It just really popped out in the midst of all of that. And I tried different angles of the stop sign because I wanted to add the other sign in the background, the yellow sign tipped over. I really think that that just gave it so much character. As I wandered down the road, I saw this other stop sign, and literally just on the other side of the block. And I love the way it's framed against the building, and also with the green foliage. It just makes it pop so much. The blue sky also really added to this image. Something about this composition really caught my eye. It was probably the power poles and the lines and the clouds and also that little yellow sign in the background. But when I saw this bird flying into the scene from the corner of my eye, I had to take a few images, but this is what I came up with. The little bird on top really, I think, tied the composition together. This is another one of those instances where really looking and walking around your subject makes a difference. I thought that was a good composition, but as I walked around I saw the blue car against the yellow building, and it really, to me, made it so much better from this angle. So as I photographed it, I tried to get something that was going to pull in the trees and the clouds and really accentuate the car against the building, and this is what I came up with. Now, as I walked around a little more and I shot a little more, I noticed that I can make a whole lot more of a story with this, even though it was just a car against a really cool looking yellow house. I added the name of the street and a little more foliage, and this is what I came up with. And I think that they could probably use this at Volkswagen as a promotional photo. Just kidding, but Volkswagen, hit me up. It was a Sunday, so I know this toilet wasn't occupied by anybody. That would be really awkward if somebody walked out, but just look how cool it looks with all of the stuff in front of it. It just really tied it together. Now, when we're talking about things that look cool to me, I love the way that this Jeep is just sitting here on this bridge, and it reminds me of a drawbridge with a moat around it, because basically that's what it is. It's actually the Santa Fe River that's supposed to be running through there, but it's been so hot that it dried out. But this is what the image came out like, and I just love the way that the Jeep almost looks like it's floating on that bridge top. One of the highlights that I wanted to focus on in this camera is the ability to zoom in and actually get macro photography. So you have all of the range with this camera, and this is the kind of shot that I got. Now, it looks a little different from the background, and it's just because I didn't realize that I put the wrong photo. We ended up going to the lake, my family and I, with the church group, and as I looked out into the distance, I saw this sailboat, and it really looked cool against the sun setting and the orange background there. And as I kept looking, there was a man, and he was, I guess, paddleboarding with his dog. That really caught my attention. When I went out there, I had no idea that it was a full moon. As a matter of fact, I had no idea that it was a blue moon. Not only a blue moon, but the sturgeon moon. And shooting it over the lake just made it so much better. One of the cool things about this camera is that I can focus by touching a certain area on the screen, and while I'm filming, that's a huge help because typically I'm struggling to focus a lot while I'm making videos. So that was a big help. But as I noticed that I was trying to expose more and more for the moon, I was really underexposing, and it doesn't show it much on the video because the iPhone does a great job of compensating, but this was an underexposed photo to me. The only thing I did is do a couple of color shifts, but yeah, it was still pretty underexposed to me. As I was walking along the shoreline looking for compositions, I noticed that the edge of the land and the beginning of the water made such a great leading line towards this ridge that you see here with the explosion of the colors from the sunset and the clouds. It really tied it together. Capitalizing on the idea of the shore and the water, I noticed the mountain ridge on the other side of the lake, and I got this image. I really like it. I noticed that this man was just enjoying his time at the lake, and I didn't want to disrupt him, but he also made a really good composition right there. So I framed him up between those railings, and this is the image that I got. It was very moody. The sun had already set completely. The moon was behind the clouds, but I love the way he pops in this image. And in this one, he's very pensive, and it's just very cinematic, if you will. The moon started to appear from behind the clouds, and I thought I'd start to photograph it in different ways. But it was getting a little boring just photographing water, a little landscape, and the moon. So I started looking for different compositions to try to make it more interesting. Like using this dock here that they use to get on and off boats. I used the railing as a leading line towards the moon, and I guess it kind of worked, except the moon was a little too far off to the left, so not really. I decided to walk onto the dock and see if I can use the post there on the dock to kind of frame the moon, and it worked a little better, but still, I guess it could use some work. I went back to the shoreline and I noticed that the waves were starting to get a little more aggressive than from before. But also, the moon was starting to leave this little light trail against the water, and I got this image. I started to photograph the waves, and at this point it was a 1/4 of a second kind of shot, or maybe a little faster. But I was waiting for the waves to be a little more dramatic, and using the leading line from the moon's reflection, I got this shot. I'm really pleased with this shot. As the day got darker, or I guess the night got darker, the moon started doing crazy things. One of the things that it did is it went behind this cloud, and it made this image. It was really, really interesting because the higher it got into the cloud, it almost looks like a UFO, and it's sending its beam down. So doing these 1 second long burst exposures and handheld, I am super surprised that this camera can handle this kind of thing. Look at it. It looks like a UFO. Here it really looks like a UFO. But that was just a light trail. Overall, my little LUMIX Leica did such a good job, and I would recommend this camera for anybody interested in either street photography or landscape photography, or like in my case, both. The Ricoh GR does a great job of street photography, but if you want the broader range that this camera can produce, and the fact that you can handhold second-long exposures, I'd say get this. I've been doing some research on how to do different videos, and I kind of like this style, the voiceover style, so let me know if you enjoyed the way I did it. Remember to subscribe, I guess, and let me know if you have any questions in the comments. I'm really trying to do better about answering those. Anyway, have a great day and thank you for watching. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace!